Welcome back, everyone, to the fields at Southern Virginia University. Getting ready for game number 2 of our doubleheader tonight. It'll be the women of Southern Virginia getting ready to take on the women's soccer team from Mary Washington. A reminder, in game 1, the men's soccer game, it was Mary Washington blanking Southern Virginia 2-0. And Mike, now we're just seconds away from getting the second game underway, the women's contest. And how are the starting lineups looking?
Well, for the women from Marymount. Sorry, my computer's not working. Here we go.
But the Knights look like they're going to have several.
They got several people back. For Mary Washington, we got number 32 in goal, Spencer. Number 10, Dana Eckerson. Number 6, Taylor Decker. Number 9, Mary Faye Jackson. Number 17, Alexis Chavez. Number 22, Caitlin Higgins. Number 25, Anna Bach. Number 26, Mitchell Williams. Looks like that might be the men's team.
And then for the women, though,
for our women, we can go ahead and give them because we got some shout outs to parents as we go through them.
Plus, we have it looks like some of these folks who've been injured along the way. It looks like they're all back here tonight.
Several people are back tonight. Starting in goal will be number 33, Savannah Uri, and she wanted us to tell her mom hello. So hello, Miss Uri. We have number 2, Jamila Gamby. Number 3, Mackenzie Cottle. Number 4, Sierra Sorensen. Number 11, Cami Miller. Number 13, Victoria Slade. Number 17, Shaylee Nakamoto. Number 18, Tatiana Monson. Number 26, Emily McFadden. Number 27, Savannah Pulliam. And number 32, Lauren Hatchett. So we got really a starting lineup for the first time that we've seen since the very first game with Gamby and Monson and
Cottle's
McFadden and Cottle.
All
working at the same time.
So they'll be getting ready to take on a Mary Washington team, Mike, that is 7-6 on the season, 2-2 in the Capital Conference. Knights 3-9 overall, and in the Capital Conference, 0-3 in the conference.
Well, this is a crucial game for the Knights. We talked about as they trying to find that 6th place for the Capital Conference tournament, that if they can win this game, that sets them up really good for the next 3 games, very winnable games, and that would give them 4 wins in the conference and put them squarely in the 6th position.
Yeah, they've got Penn State Harrisburg, Senior Day at Harrisburg coming up on Saturday. Then next Wednesday, the women will be back home for their final home game of the season against Marymount on the 24th at York. As you mentioned, if they can win here today, those next 3 are winnable contests after this one.
Very winnable as they're playing some sub-500 teams, a couple teams that are tied with the Knights with 0 wins in the conference. So this is really a linchpin game. If they don't win it, then that puts a lot of pressure on them to win 4 in a row, and they have to go to Frostburg, who is 3-0-1 right now.
And it shows you just how big that loss last Friday was in overtime, 2-1 to Wesley.
That was a major loss. It's something that they should have won.
And had they won that game, maybe again they would have had just a little bit more room for error down the stretch.
Well, that would have put Wesley 1 game closer to them. Wesley right now is in the 6th spot. That would have brought them back closer to the Knights. Not only do we think they should have won the game, but I know the coaching staff and the players think they should have won that game, and they just let that one get by them.
The Knights do have a couple of home victories, Mike. That 1-0 overtime victory over Randolph. They also had the Emory and Henry game as part of the Blackham Classic that they won 1-0. And then, of course, the 4-3 game over Averett. So 3-9 on the season, 3 home victories. They haven't been able to win on the road just yet. So the women haven't been able to win on the road, and the men have not been able to win at home.
Yeah, just again, we talked a lot about the strange season so far with all the injuries, with both teams having some major issues on the offensive side. Hopefully tonight, with all the players back that the Knights have, we can see an offensive output.
You know, they got off to a great start against Wesley last Friday, able to score the first goal of the game, and also had several chances. Tatiana Monson in that game had several chances to score goals. So let's see what kind of start the Knights have here against the Eagles.
Well, even though all the players are back and in their normal positions, that doesn't mean they're at 100%, just like we talked about with the guys.
Or the fact that, again, just how cohesive they're going to be.
Yeah, it takes some time to get used to playing with somebody again after them not being there.
But certainly the Knights have a lot of scoring threats out there today. Monson, Gamby, McFadden, Cottle, you name it.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to see them be able to put some flurries together in order to try to put pressure on this Mary Washington Eagle team.
Of course, on Monday, the women's team was hit by kind of a sledgehammer in the first 10 minutes against Salisbury. They scored 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, and the women's team was really never able to get into that game on Monday.
Yeah, Salisbury came out with looked like a little chip on their shoulder with something to prove, and within the first 10 minutes really put the game out of reach for the Knights. Just devastated them, knocked them off balance, and like you said, the Knights were never able to regain and get a foothold in that game.
No, the women's team kind of has the same problem the men's team has had. Outside of that 4-3 game over the victory over Averett, they just have not been able to manufacture more often than not more than 1 goal a game.
And that's been just the issue with having so many injuries. We saw that start in the game with Bridgewater, and then it just had a domino effect until about 2 games ago when we started to see some players start coming back.
And we'll see if the Knights can get their offense going here in the first half against the Eagles.
Long through ball there to Pulliam. This is a good chance.
McFadden almost had it, couldn't get to it. Slade, throw in to Sorensen. Tries to center to Pulliam, couldn't get it to her.
See if Cottle can chase it down.
Cottle battling on the left side, double teamed and lost the ball.
You can see that the Eagles really want to counterattack anything that the Knights do as they start to build up. Probably understand that the Knights, nice through ball there as the Knights try to get back. And great closing speed by Shaylee Nakamoto.
Shot on goal, Uriah right there with the save.
The Eagles have seen, I'm sure, a lot of film on the Knights, understand that they're maybe pressing, trying to score extra goals now to break out of this slump, and so they're going to be very vulnerable to counterattacks.
Well, that is the danger, Mike, of trying to really focus and upgrade your offense. Really going on to the offense is the danger of being counterattacked, maybe with an over-the-top pass. Knights have run into that problem earlier this season.
There's a great job by Jamila trying to take the ball down, able to shoulder her way through. Still, though, just not on the page with everybody else with their passes.
Stolden and Uriah, who came way out from the goal, was able to knock that down. Kind of lucky there that shot by Mary Washington wasn't a little higher up over her head or maybe at an angle that could sneak through her.
Well, I think she was probably believing that Cammie Miller was going to be able to get to that ball.
Yep. Gamby tried to go for the steal, couldn't do so.
We talked about how nice it was out today for the men's game. Just the perfect temperature. Now the temperatures are starting to drop a little bit. We can see a couple of girls out there with some long sleeves on, just trying to stay a little bit warm.
And we'll see if the wind's a factor at all, too.
Try to play the ball through to Gamby. She just can't reach it. Oh, gave up on the run, and the defender didn't see that and just kicked the ball out of bounds. Thought that Gamby was right there with her.
That's just respect right there for Jamila Gamby. The throw-in gets away from the Knights, though. McFadden tries to get control, but can't. Guess that's the fear that Gamby can put in defenders.
Yeah, because I can't remember a lot of times that she's given up on a ball. She usually runs it all the way through, even if she knows she can't get to it.
Steal by Hatchett. Over to Cottle.
One player that we're used to seeing in is Ann Powell. She's still recovering from that concussion-like symptoms. Was able to play several minutes in the last game. I'm sure they'll increase her minutes this game, but she adds a dimension to their defense that is just outstanding.
And now, not only do we have really some athletic and outstanding starters out there, Mike, but we've got a deep bench, or a deeper bench than we've seen in the past few games for the Knights.
Yeah, very deep bench. As a lot of players that had to step up and play major minutes in games are now moving back to a support role. But I'm sure that Coach Graurock will rotate them in to keep fresh legs out there on the field.
Some of those come to mind, maybe like Sarah Foster, perhaps?
Foster, also we've seen.
I mean, Jackie Barlow did not get the start tonight.
We've seen Jackie in some starting positions.
Alicia Blackham, obviously, back from an injury.
So again, there's a lot of young ladies that have coming back from injuries that are, again, seeing some limited minutes, but they're starting to get healthy again, or as healthy as they can. And it's just, this is kind of where the Knights wanted to be about 10 games ago.
Better late than never, although you may not be able to say that when you talk about trying to make the Capital Tournament.
Yeah, they have 5 games left. We kind of think that it'll take 4 wins in the conference to get that 6th position. So, there's not a lot of room for error right now.
Because counting after this game, there are just 4 games left on the schedule. So we talked about it. This is almost a must game tonight against Mary Washington. And a very winnable game, too. A team that has won a couple of games in the conference, but also lost a couple.
Plus, with the Knights playing at home, this is your home field. You need to protect it. You understand the nuances of the field, and plus you have your crowd with you.
And the good news is, again, the Knights have won 3 times on their home field. Bad news down the stretch is that 3 of the 4 remaining games, Mike, are on the road, and the Knights have never won on the road this season.
That's a circumstance that they're going to have to change if they think they want to get things through.
And Uriah's able to get out there.
And again, how is that not offside?
I was waiting for the signal.
Looks like they did call it just late. I mean, I don't understand how you don't call that offside as quick as it happens.
McFadden trying to get to it. She tracks it down. Slade to Sorensen. Sorensen, nice pass to Gambi. Deep corner, though. Tries to center. Knocked away by the Eagles.
A nice thought by Jamila, but maybe a better thought would have been to bring the defender in and try to create a corner kick at that point.
And we talked about it, of course, in the men's game. Hefty advantage for Mary Washington in corner kicks, Mike. And it just doesn't seem that the Knights really are focused on trying to set up those corner kicks or try to set up the possibility of getting them.
No, and we saw the men's team from Mary Washington today really focus on that, and it paid great dividends for them throughout the game.
First goal, I think.
And just a difference in philosophy of the coaching staffs. But what we've seen so far this season is that the teams that win the corner kick ratio usually is the team that wins the game.
Nice pass to Gambi. Went off for a foot. Back to McFadden. Probably not too good that you got McFadden and Gambi just within yards of each other.
Well, looks like they called either another offsides there or a very ticky-tack foul.
Didn't see any fouls, so maybe it was offsides. Maybe they called it on Gambi.
Yeah, again, that would have been a strange one as she was coming back to the ball. One of the few times that we've seen a player come back to the ball on a pass.
Knights will have the ball, throw in.
You know, and with all these players available, we're starting to see the Knights play much quicker. Start their throw-ins much quicker, try to get up to the ball quicker. So
Monson was pushed down that time. And she's still really trying to get involved in this offense, Mike, in the first 10 minutes of this game. Tatiana really hadn't been a factor just yet.
Yeah, they got her back playing more as a midfielder now, and with this group and lineup that they have, and you know she's trying to create for other players.
Break for Mary Washington, right side. Hatchett trying to get back defensively, and she does.
And you can see the size difference there between Hatchett, and it looks like that might be number 9 for Mary Washington. Mary Faye Jackson.
Hatchett's been a good player on defense this year, 5'7", just a freshman.
Yeah, she's had some outstanding games, but then also she's made some of the freshman mistakes, just not being able to play the ball at the proper angle and giving up a few easy goals.
Battle for the ball. Mary Washington trying to get it close to the goal right now. The Knights are trying to keep it away, and McFadden will take it up the right side.
Just out of the reach of Jamila. Nice try to play through the ball there. If Jamila could have caught up to that, then we could have seen some real action.
2 shots on goal for Mary Washington. No shots on goal thus far for the Knights. Gambee to McFadden.
See which team finally wants to settle down with the ball.
Yeah, both teams are having a hard time controlling it right now. Throw-in coming up here for the Eagles. We played about 13 minutes. Neither team has scored.
And we haven't had any really serious shots on goals yet.
Listed as 2 shots on goals for Mary Washington and none for the Knights. Knights still looking for their first shot, it looks like, Mike.
Cottle was looking to make something happen there on that far side.
Throw-in goes to Gambee. Facing a couple of defenders. And kicked out.
Well, I know that as we look at some of these young ladies, that they have some room to put some muscle on their body. I'm looking at McFadden in particular as a freshman, and by the time that she's a senior, we may see a big change in her body as she goes through the weight program that the Knights have put in place with their strength and conditioning coach, which will only make her a better player.
Can't say the same thing about Jamila Gambee.
Well, Jamila is shot on
left side.
Dangerous there for the Knights.
Strong shot from about 30 yards away or so.
Well, Jamila gets into the weight room also and pushes it as hard as anybody else. She's just got that natural strength and aggressiveness that you really like to see.
Never runs out of energy.
Or doesn't let anybody see her run out of energy.
Slade trying to get rid of it. Knocked out.
Oh, and it may be a corner kick here for the Eagles. Nope, throw in. Hallelujah.
Eagles kick way off. So the Knights have it here with 29:30 left until halftime.
And looks like they are giving the Eagles a corner kick, saying that it went off one of the Knights.
So we'll see how the Eagles play this corner kick. Going for a header.
Yeah, strong kick there.
Towards the goal.
And in.
And in, as it looked like the goalkeeper ran into a defender.
Yes, ran into Pulliam, but even that at that point the ball had already crossed the plane and it was in there.
Just a good, strong header that had the proper altitude, not too high to go over Mike, and just a properly placed header goal, which we don't see a whole lot of this season.
No, and again,
not an easy thing to do.
That's the inability to clear out on a corner kick. That's why you want to try to manufacture corner kicks, because those type of things happen.
So a big goal for Mary Washington here in the first half. And just as the men fell behind Mary Washington earlier in game number 1, 1-0 and eventually 2-0 by halftime, Mike, the women looking at the same situation, a deficit early on here. How they're going to react to it first and foremost, I guess, and if they can get enough offense to try to catch up.
Well, hopefully they don't react to it the same way the guys did and give up the next goal within the next 2 or 3 minutes. It'd be nice to see the Knights come back and use that goal as kind of a wake-up goal and score one themselves.
And try to do something I guess the men were unable to do, and that's maybe get some corner kicks eventually.
Yeah, again, that's just a philosophy that you have to try to work at in practice, but we've seen great things happen for teams that manufacture those corner kicks. Of course, in order to manufacture a corner kick, you have to be able to possess the ball long enough to keep it down in your offensive end.
That's right. Have to be on that side of the field first and foremost. The Eagles trying to advance the ball. Knights trying to keep it in. Getting to that point of the game, too, where we're going to start to maybe see some substitutions.
Yeah, we can look across the far side of the field and see 4 Eagles starting to loosen up a little bit.
And I would imagine this is the kind of weather where a player would rather be on the field in movement as opposed to sitting on the sideline stationary.
Well, that, and plus, if you were out there running around, coming out now,
two Eagles coming in,
would be very hard to get warmed back up, because once you start to cool off, you start to stiffen up a little bit.
If you look beyond the fence, I think that's Art Furler.
Yeah, Art.
Wearing that suit again.
Taking some laps around. Always one of the more classy dressers on campus. Although I am used to seeing him in his little hat, his little corduroy hat that he usually wears.
I'm thinking early 20th century.
Yes.
The word you're looking for is dapper.
That's it.
Nice move there by McFadden to get it upfield. But very tough, Mike, to go through 2 or 3 defenders and get through all of them.
It is, especially when they're coming at you almost in waves.
Nice pass upfield for the Eagles as they try to go on the attack, and they center the pass perfectly, and the shot is blocked by Uri. Big save there, Mike, as it was almost 2-0.
Very big save, and you have to wonder how the Mary Washington player got that far behind the defense.
Good passing by the Eagles, almost nets them their second goal. But Savannah Uri making a big play to keep this a 1-goal game right now for the Eagles. Looks like Jackie Barlow maybe is getting ready to check in for the Knights in an upcoming substitution. McFadden, nice move by Sorensen. Over to McFadden.
Long play through for Gambee.
Will there be anybody to center to, maybe? Back to McFadden. No one there to throw it into. And a shot from outside by Pulliam is way left.
She had Monson more to her left there, and she just put it right to the middle of the field. Again, just putting the ball without looking and seeing, taking a glance up and seeing where their players are.
And Powell will check in. And Jackie Barlow. So Gamby's going to check out here.
Now, it's very important that these young ladies go over, put some clothes on, a jacket on, and try to stay as loose as possible, because if they come back in, it takes a little while to get going, especially if you start to get cold. Long play through, and again, the Knights just not back on defense as much as they should be.
Shot is blocked away by Hatchett.
Yeah, it was Lizzie Wiest.
Nice pass, left side, shot just high over the goal.
Again, it's kind of
Savannah Uriah also maybe giving some instructions to her defense.
Yeah, tell them, hey, don't let them back here on me, or see man, see ball. It looks like the Knights' defense is really starting to break down tonight.
Yeah, it's 1-0, Mike, but it could easily be 3 or 4-0 right now for the Eagles.
Yeah, they just looks like they're getting caught ball watching and
Right.
not seeing the offensive players run through the lanes.
And unless you correct that, the Eagles are eventually going to cash in.
Well, I'm sure they're sitting back in the back of their minds, happy that they're up 1-0, but frustrated that they aren't up by 2 or 3.
Hatchett had Uriah coming out, kicked it instead, didn't give it to Savannah. Now McFadden will try to bring it up. Little stutter step gets her almost past one defender, but another defender right there, Mike, to take it away.
See, and that's where the extra strength will help her as she gets into the weight room. She's able to, or not able to right now, keep the defender off of her. When she gets a little bit more strength, she'll be able to lean into her and keep him off of her.
Hatchett will kick it out. Nope, going to be saved by Powell. We're trying to work it to Monson, but taken away by the Eagles.
Looks like that should have been a handball. And Uriah just puts the ball out. And we've seen some better play by the Knights, but we also have seen their defense start to break down, which is something that has been really their calling card in the last few games.
And they haven't been able to really manufacture any offense, any appreciable time on the other end of the field. Still looking for a shot on a goal here. Slade throws it in, taken away by the Eagles again. Tried for a seam pass, Mike, but Powell's back there.
Yeah, they tried to play that ball straight through to, I think that's again number 9, Wiest, and Powell able to match her step for step. Quick shot there by the Eagles.
Now Monson will try to get something started.
You know, and something we saw the guys have some success with was really they switched the field several times when they're taking the ball down the the field. Like to see the young ladies do the same thing because right now they're keeping the ball on one side. The defense can really key on that one side and not have to worry about anything else.
Really focused on that left side again, which is something they've had a tendency to do throughout the season.
And again, Savannah Uriah is getting much more work than she would like. Putting in some great time at the goalkeeper spot, even though that's not her natural position because of the injury to Rachel Miller in the first game, having to step up. And actually, she didn't even step up. She just volunteered.
And you had a chance, I guess, in between games to maybe talk with Savannah, Tatiana, and also Alicia Blackham.
And they all wanted to make sure that we said hello to their parents. So we said hello to Miss Uriah, to the Blackhams. Alicia can't wait until you get here next week. And Tatiana said to say hello to her parents also. So it's nice to have the young ladies come in between their game and the men's game and have a few minutes to talk with them. And, you know, we asked them a little bit about all the injuries, and they just kind of rolled their eyes at it. And, you know, nothing else could go wrong.
Monson was trying to start upfield and had it knocked away, so the Knights will have the throw in here. Slade, nice throw in to Sorensen. Gets it over to McFadden in the corner. Long kick, and the goalkeeper right there for the Eagles to stop it.
We also invited him to come back in during the men's game on the 26th to talk with us and do a little commentary, and I think all three of them declined.
Okay, because that would have been the home schedule would have been over for them. They would have had one game at that point the following day at Frostburg on the 27th.
Yeah, I think they all declined because yeah, they all said that they didn't want to come in, but we'll keep on them and try to get at least a few of them coming. There's Alicia coming into the game.
Especially if you can guarantee them maybe say two sentences and you're done.
Yeah, just say hello to mom and dad or whatever. But it's always fun to be able to talk to some of the players. You know, we're able to talk to the coaches a lot, or at least I am during school, and it's just fun to be able to get the players' take and see some of their personality. Oh, long kick down the field.
Well, Mary Washington is accomplishing its goal right now, Mike, keeping the Knights off the board. I know they probably themselves would like to have a couple more goals, and certainly have had the chances here in the first half to have maybe another goal or two on the board.
Well, I'm sure in their scouting report they know that the Knights are having a hard time scoring right now, so they feel like a one-goal lead is really a 2 or 3 goal lead until the Knights are able to manufacture a score.
I don't know. To me, a one-goal lead, no matter how bad your offense, a one-goal lead is a one-goal lead. Especially as we saw in the men's game, I don't know how often it happens. It's probably somewhat rare. Again, maybe accidentally putting the goal in your own goal.
Yeah, I don't know if we can count that as a score for our guys.
But in a one-goal game, you'll take it. Here's Pulliam over to Blackham, left side, and she's not going to be able to get there. So 4 shots on goal now for the Knights, or for the Eagles, and no shots on goals for the Knights.
And the shot comparison is 10 for the Eagles and only 2 for the Knights. So, again, the Eagles are doing kind of like the men did and putting a lot of shots up, hoping that they can find one of those cracks in the defense and find the back of the goal again.
Yeah, the Knights just have not been able to maintain possession, Mike. They'll have a few efforts, and then the ball will trickle away. And now the Eagles are on the attack.
Yeah, 2 attempts at a slide tackle there, and just not able to get to it.
Left side, knocked away by the Knights, though. Rolls out. Eagles ball. 15 minutes to go here in the first half. Hatchett will kick that out of bounds. Thrown in by Mary Washington. Slade pushing the Eagle player away. And they're going to say last touched or kicked by Mary Washington.
You know, and there's a real art to creating those corner kicks that we've seen the men on the Eagles do, and so far the women have tried to do it too. But
Or you try to obviously get it close and hope the other team kicks it out.
well, a lot of people try to take it down the corner, and instead of doing a centering pass, just try to play it off the closest player. We saw right there was no real shot on goal. She had no one to pass it to. She just tried to shoot it off of one of the Knight defenders. And again, a very sound offensive principle. It's just something that we haven't seen the men or the women Knights do this year to any success.
Winterton will check in. Lily Winterton's had a lot of playing time here this season. And coming off the bench tonight.
You know, and that's a good thing and a bad thing when you have a lot of freshmen getting a lot of playing time. A lot of times you have to do it by necessity, which is a bad thing, all the injuries that the Knights had. But it will pay dividends later on. Maybe not this year, but next year, the Knights, if they can keep a great core together, they should have a very, very seasoned team. Even though it'll be a young team, a few seniors, but again, the majority of the team will be underclassmen.
And I guess it looks like probably, Mike, that Zoe Bradshaw will not be able to make it back onto the field as a player before maybe senior day next Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think so. She's still in the walking boot. That may be something that she's in for about 6 weeks.
We'll look for her next spring in lacrosse.
Next spring in lacrosse, I think that's what her plan is to make sure that she does everything she can to get that ankle healed up as properly as possible.
And they really have missed her, too, potentially. A very good athlete, very quick.
Again, we saw some glimpses of what the Knights were to look like, but we only saw that for one game. And then when Rachel Miller went down, the domino effect started. Everybody started getting pulled out of position, and then we just saw the onslaught of injuries.
And the biggest offensive explosion this season was, of course, against Averett, 4 goals. And some of the stuff that we saw in that game, 2 over-the-top passes to Gamby for her 2 goals. We really haven't seen a whole lot of that since. 2 goals by McFadden. I believe she's got a goal since then, but not probably the explosion from an offensive standpoint we were hoping for her. Over the top and in. That ball kept on sailing. Uri could not leap for it. A second goal for Mary Washington, and that was a big one. Just like the men scored their second goal, that was a huge goal in game number 1. Now the women's team from the Eagles has landed a second big goal with 11:52 to go.
Yeah, Savannah did all she could right there. We saw her leap as tall as she can. She's not the tallest goalie that there is.
And the Mary Washington player just put the right touch on that shot.
Oh, it was great
Not
touch.
too hard, just kind of sailed it there.
But you have to wonder about, where was the defense? That is again a nice touch shot. She had to have time to really line that up. And where was the defense to put pressure on her?
And so, again, this game's not over, Mike. We still got 56-plus minutes to go. But as we've seen, these 2-goal leads can really take on big proportions when your offense is struggling.
Yeah, hopefully we can see the Knights start to pick it up offensively. A goal in this first half would do them just a world of good.
They scored a goal, of course, in the first half last Friday against Wesley. But that was the only goal they were able to score in that game. They lost that game 2-1 in overtime. One thing's for sure, you don't want to go the other way with a negative flurry at this point in the first half and fall behind even further than a 2-goal deficit.
Yeah, another goal would be very detrimental to them. So right now the Knights need to find that goal, and they have the offensive players to do it. Is just the continuity and the chemistry hasn't been able to really gel.
Foster trying to get it ahead to Monson. She does, but the goalkeeper right there to make a big play. Knights still looking for that first shot on goal. 5 shots on goal now for the Eagles. And that was a big play, maybe just again from a matter of inches or a matter of half seconds, Mike, separating Monson from a potential shot.
So it's just the constant pressure that the Knights need to learn how to apply to their opponents.
Slade with the throw in.
Well, we do have a final from the volleyball team. The Knights went to Frostburg today and lost 3-0. So this is really put them in a very precarious position where they have to win the rest of their matches in order to go back to the conference tournament.
And again, maybe because of all the injuries, Mike, but they have really struggled with losses here in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, they're down to just a minimal amount of players, and when you lose a 3-year starter, your senior captain, it really is just detrimental to the team. But she's still there. Caitlin still comes to all the games, all the practices, does everything she can to help mentor some of the younger players. Just not able to pull out the wins.
Mary Washington back on the attack. So did Toronto end up closing that one out against the Rangers in the American League Divisional Series tonight, the deciding 5th game?
Yes, Toronto won 6-3. And Houston and Kansas City has just started.
So Toronto ends up winning that series 3-2, and they'll play the winner of Houston and Kansas City. And, of course, in the National League, Cubs won last night, Mike, and Dodgers and Mets, I believe, tomorrow night will play Game 5.
Game 5 back at Los Angeles. Blackham's able to control the ball.
One thing's for sure, next Wednesday, final home game for the women. Next to last home game for the men against Marymount, and in both cases, both the men and women's team really have a good shot at certainly getting a victory on home night, October the 21st.
Yeah, the Marymount's struggling this year in their soccer. Great job by Tatiana Monson to take the ball down the field. Took on 2 defenders, was able to play it off of one of the defenders for a corner kick, and it looks like Alicia Blackham will be the one that takes the corner kick.
And the Knights will get their first corner kick tonight, and we'll see what they'll do with it.
Well, even if they don't score, this is a lot of pressure on the defense.
Header.
Oh, nice header.
Oh, to the left. Good idea. That was Barlow, I think.
Yeah, again.
Had the right idea, Mike. And
a senior to senior there.
Almost looked like it was headed into the goal, but kind of deceiving angle.
Yeah, well, the goalie was frozen, and I don't know, how far away that is.
It gives you an idea, Mike, as to what you've been saying all along. You really want to try to work to get more of those because that's what it could produce for you.
Yeah, it puts the defense in such pressure on it that, one small mistake can lead to a goal. We've talked about all the new people. That was Alicia Blackham to Jackie Barlow, a senior to senior. They played together for 4 years. They know each other, even though they haven't really been out on the field together that much this year because of all the different injuries to Jackie and to Alicia. You just see that there's that connection between them.
Avery Bishop is going to check in for the Knights.
Checks in for Monson.
Last touch by the Knights, so it'll be thrown in by the Eagles. And if this goes in at halftime as a 2-0 ball game, then it's kind of like the men. The question becomes is what can the Knights do offensively in the second half? What will Mary Washington do? Will they keep on attacking or lay back a little bit? As that shot just over the goal and hits the crossbar for football.
Well, I know that Mary Washington's really trying to play for a higher seed, and so they're going to probably keep on playing the way that they would in the conference tournament, trying to work on some things and trying to really just tighten up their game.
They're trying to go to 3-2 tonight in the conference. Knights trying to pick up their 4th win of the season.
Well, and looking at some previous action as Barlow's bringing the ball down the field, today. St. Mary's, who went into today undefeated, lost to Christopher Newport. So there's no undefeated teams in the Capital Conference right now.
In women's action.
In women's action.
And of course, Christopher Newport handled Southern Virginia pretty easily just about a week ago, 7-0. That was a game I think that was 2-0 at halftime, and CNU ended up scoring 5 second-half goals.
Yeah, and that's when the Knights gave up 3 goals in about 4 or 5 minutes. Just a really quick flurry of goals for the captains. Again, you see a lot of the Eagles really pressed forward, makes them very vulnerable to counterattacks, but the Knights have to know how to possess the ball and make very smart passes.
Nice pass by the Eagles, knocked away by the Knights. Down almost to 4 minutes left until halftime. McFadden coming way out for that ball. Kicks it out, quick throw in by the Eagles. Thrown to Hatchett, who accidentally knocks it out of bounds. Another throw in for the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to put pressure on you, not just with their feet out on the field, but they're going to put pressure on you when they throw the ball in. They don't want to give you any time to get set.
Eagles making the Knights chase them down here, Mike. With some good passing from player to player. Knocked out again by Slade, so still Eagles ball.
And that chasing really starts to wear you out. You can start to see some tired legs in this first half, and that'll carry over into the second half.
Knights are trying to clear and trying to go back on offense, but the Eagles just won't let them.
No, it seems no matter where the ball winds up, it winds up at the feet of an Eagle
bad
player.
Collision there. Hatchett got hit from behind.
No, and just like the men's team, we're seeing that the Mary Washington women's team don't mind collecting some fouls. Right now, up to 16 fouls.
The Eagles probably figure the fouls, the risk reward is actually there.
Yeah, and if the referees aren't giving out yellow cards,
right,
then why not go ahead and play to the level that the referee's going to allow? Of course, we saw that in the first game of the season. We saw 2 young ladies, one for each side, be carted off the field.
And, nothing against Savannah Uri, but, boy, if you have Rachel Miller, perhaps the goalkeeping even further improves, and that would also maybe give Savannah a chance to play at the positions that she really likes. But she has done a heck of a job, too, in goal this year for the Knights.
Yeah, especially for someone who hasn't played a lot of goal before, actually volunteered to play because she knew that her team needed somebody to step up and take the risk, and so she gave up what she knows best, playing out there on the field, to do what's best for the team.
Knights would like to get a goal here down the final minute.
Looks like we got a foul on Southern Virginia, so a free kick. Looks like it's going to be about 20, 25 yards away from the goal.
This could be a little dangerous for the Knights in the closing seconds. At an angle left side.
Oh, quick start.
Shot way outside, just too high and over. Well, the Eagles had the right idea, Mike, and they got a good look at that shot.
Got a great look at the shot. Caught the Knights as they were still trying to set their wall up. Started the ball very quickly.
But now we're under a minute to go.
It's like a handball was called there.
Let's kick upfield, hoping to get a goal here in the final 38 seconds. Otherwise, they will go into halftime shut out, just like the men who trailed at halftime 2-0. Mary Washington gets a shot on goal with 26 seconds to go. Uri over to McFadden. McFadden touched it with her hand. Closing seconds now of the first half. And it looks like that we will have a shot towards the goal, but it's off, and we will go into halftime, Mike, with Mary Washington. Just like the men's score at halftime was 2-0, it's the women of Mary Washington on top here at halftime, 2-0 over the Knights.
Yeah, and it looks like that the Eagles are starting to dominate again, just like the men on the men's side. More shots on goal, and obviously the 2 goals make it very difficult now for the Knights.
And so the Knights are going to have to get their offense going here in the second half, Mike, or they're going to fall to 0-4 in the conference.
Yeah, and that really, again, we talked about it earlier, it puts them at a very precarious position, having to win 4 games in a row if they want to get into the conference tournament.
So Mary Washington, the leader here at halftime, 2-0 over the Knights. We'll take a little break here from Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan back here with Mike Harmon at the fields at Southern Virginia University as we get ready to bring you second half action of this women's soccer matchup between Southern Virginia and Mary Washington. Mary Washington, as you can see on top here, Mike, 2-0 as we get ready to start the second half.
And they really dominated all the offensive stats. 14 shots to 3, 5 shots on goal to 0 for the Knights. Corners 1-1, so that's great. But also the fouls, 5 to 2. So, again, they've dominated the offensive stats. The biggest offensive stat that they've dominated is actually putting the goals 2-0.
And Jamila Gamby, you can see, trying to stay loose and cool, I guess. The temperatures have gone down a little bit. She's doing a little dancing out there, and then I'm sure the Knights are hoping to maybe get a goal right off the bat here, Mike, in the second half. Much like the men who trailed in their game 2-0 at halftime and ended up losing that game 2-0. The women would really like to get a goal here in the opening minutes of the second half, try to climb within a goal and make a game of this.
Oh, that would be the ideal, is to get a goal within the first 5 or 6 minutes of this half. If that can't be done, if they could just manufacture about 4 or 5 more corner kicks, give themselves a good opportunity. We saw that header going in or coming so close by Jackie Barlow from Alicia Blackham. So it'd be really nice to see the Knights come out with a lot of fire in this second half.
And Mary Washington, I'm sure their philosophy, we saw sometimes this happening in the first half where we would have defensive breakdowns and the Eagles would have good shots, good looks at maybe a shot on goal against Savannah Uri. And they've got 2 goals on the board. They could easily have an extra goal or 2, and I'm sure they're hoping to maybe add a 3rd or 4th goal and really put this game out of reach.
Yeah, they know if they get 1 or 2 more goals, that the Knights haven't been able to manufacture that many goals since they played Averett, and Averett's not the type of opponent that Mary Washington is.
I already mentioned earlier this evening that the women's volleyball team, Mike, lost at Frostburg.
Yeah, they lost 3-0. That puts them in a very precarious position as far as getting back to the conference tournament. They really have to win the rest of their matches. And so we'll see how that comes around on Saturday as they host Salisbury, which is a very good volleyball team.
And what time will the webcast be?
That'll start probably right around 1 o'clock. We'll watch the announcements, the opening prayer, the national anthem, and then we'll be right there with the starting lineups.
So be looking for that Saturday, 1 o'clock. Next soccer webcast 1 week from today. And that'll be the final home game for the women. Next to last home game for the men against Marymount. Women will play at 5 o'clock next Wednesday the 21st, and the men at 7:30. The men also have 1 home game beyond that, October the 26th, Salisbury Makeup. And, of course, football still with a couple of more home games, 2 more home games. They've got Keene coming up October the 31st and November the 14th, wrapping things up against CNU.
And unfortunately for the football team, the schedule never gets easy with that NJAC conference that they're in.
Yeah, they've got Rowan coming up on Saturday. Shot right on the goal. Rowan Saturday, followed by William Patterson the following Saturday, both road games.
Well, and the William Patterson game may be the game that they're really starting to point toward of this is the game that we win. Outside of that, it's a very, very tough conference.
Yeah, possibly College of New Jersey, maybe, I guess, at the very end of the season, right before the Newport game. But Patterson right now would seem to be the New Jersey Athletic Conference team that might be perhaps struggling the most.
Oh, nice pass ahead to
Gamby.
Oh.
Goalkeeper came out, made the shot.
Monson
Monson follows, and she can't get it on goal.
Just pulls it too far to the left.
Boy, Gamby had a good look, but the goalkeeper for Mary Washington did a good job coming out and blocking it.
And Gamby, you don't want to second guess her here. We're sitting and watching this all unfold. She's in the middle of it, but maybe a little bit more finesse instead of trying to go with a little bit power. Just flip it up over the top of the goalie as the goalie was going down to the ground.
Didn't really have the ability or the option maybe of pulling it off to the left or the right.
No, she had a defender right there cutting off the angle. The only way she could go was straight ahead, especially with the goalie coming down at her feet. Again, just a little bit more finesse going over the top may have been more beneficial, but great shot.
Then again, it's one of those hard things to do on the fly.
Great shot by the Knights, and now maybe that will jumpstart some of their offense. They see that they can actually break through this Mary Washington defense.
Man, that was a goal they really could have used, Mike. I know there's a lot of time left in this game, but then again, as we've seen, not only do the Knights struggle, but they at times don't get many opportunities.
Yeah, that would have been just a fantastic goal. Not only because it brings them within one, but just the confidence level of the young ladies would have been through the roof.
So the Knights have a chance, but don't score, and the score remains 2-0 Mary Washington. Knights really seemingly are battling at a great effort here, Mike, in the opening minutes of the second half in the first 4 to 5 minutes.
Well, you just hope that they can keep up this effort for the full 45 minutes instead of what we've seen in some other games where they play really great the first 10 minutes of the second half and then all of a sudden start to slow down a little bit and let the other team get very comfortable with their game.
Gambee tries to kick it upfield, but loses it. Knocked out of bounds by Mary Washington. That and the fact that, if Mary Washington somehow, some way gets that third goal here in the next couple of minutes, that could really be deflating to this team.
And you start thinking about what could have been and should have been.
Eagles on the attack, trying to shoot a long shot, just off the bar. Well, they do like that long shot where they kind of sail it in. I know that was how they got their second goal, Mike, and that one was maybe a foot or so away from going in underneath the bar.
Yeah, they just try to put it about a foot from the top crossbar in either corner. And those really hard. It doesn't matter what size you are then. You can be at least 6 foot tall. That's a really hard ball to go get.
So each team has dodged a bullet here in the second half. Collision, ball knocked out of bounds.
Yeah, corner kick now for the Eagles, and the Knights really need to try to, again, clear it out to one of the outer thirds of the field.
Shot towards Uri right there to make the play. The Eagles going back on the attack. Shot towards Uri. She tries to handle it. It scoops by her, makes the play, but knocks it out.
And you saw her scoot to her right. Ball played off her hands. It's starting to get a little cool out there, so there's going to be some condensation that's starting to form on the field now, and if the ball starts to get wet, that causes the ball to do a lot of funny things.
Ball's kicked out, so Mary Washington has it. Right outside, open for a shot, blocked away by Cami Miller. That was a big block. That might have gone past Cami right into the goal. Tough to say.
And again, the clear wasn't where the Knights really wanted it. Right down the middle of the field, about 30 yards out from the goal.
Mary Washington's already had a couple of corner kicks in this second half.
And they manufactured another corner kick.
They rule that's off the Knights. This one will come from the left side.
Little short start.
Ball comes to Gambee, and the Knights are off and running, trying to get going, but they lose the ball, and Mary Washington quickly gets it back. Interesting on those corner kicks, the decision to do what they did, the short kick, as opposed to trying to go maybe for a header in front of the goal.
Well, they may feel like they get a better angle by getting the ball out from the corner and then try to attack in. Again, with the Knights packing it in, trying to make sure that nothing comes into the center of the box. Pretty smart play.
Knights trying to find a way to go on the attack, Mike. Just can't really get a pass upfield as they try to hit Gambee.
Well, even with the Eagle defense pressing forward, they're always leaving at least one person back around midfield or even further back. And then when the Knights try to attack with a long ball through, they're there to take it away.
Miller strikes it over to Slade. Slade back from right to left to Gambee. Gambee couldn't really hit that one authoritatively, trying to get ahead to Monson, and the goalkeeper reaches it first.
Again, Gambee found herself wide open there in the middle of the field.
Couldn't tell what she wanted to do there, if she wanted to kick towards the goal or actually roll it over to Monson on the right side, who had a defender or two around her.
Yeah, she got caught with a little bit of indecision, and now we've seen two great chances that have been developed for by Gambee, and just not able to finish off there. And again, we can go back to the time off that she had to take because of her injury.
Monson strokes it ahead to Gambee, right side. Coddles across the middle. Caught her with a header, and it's off to the left.
Just wasn't able to get enough on the ball there.
You like the attacking, though.
Very good attacking.
Boy,
nice.
If you do this for 90 minutes.
Nice thought. Yeah, if you do this for 90 minutes, you're going to be right in the game, and you're going to have some goals up on the board.
And it makes you wonder why they're able to do it, let's say in this 10-minute surge, Mike, in the second half, but not for 90 minutes or 75 or 80 minutes.
Well, again, we look at all the people that have come back off the injured list now, and they're out there playing, and this may be the lineup that Coach Garrock was starting to envision, minus Rachel Miller.
Here come the Knights on the attack.
Oh,
nice pass
through
to
to
Cottle.
Tries to get it back to her right foot.
And, boy, it's a shame. Can't use that left foot, huh? Because that's a tough play to make if you're Cottle trying to go from left to right with a defender pretty much on your right hip.
Even if she was able to take that shot with her left foot, I think the angle would have been such that it had been on the outside part of the goal. But now the Knights, we're starting to see them.
Short kick to Sorensen. Tries to center, no one there. And the Eagles will take it out of there.
Yeah, the Knights are starting to feel comfortable with each other out there now. We knew that there's going to be a lot of rust with all the players returning and trying to learn how to play with each other again, and now we're starting to see some of that chemistry and continuity.
Yeah, Nakamoto isn't afraid to get a little physical too. Here's Cottle working through 2 or 3 defenders with 4 or 5 defenders all around her. Long kick by Nakamoto over to Hatchett or McFadden and Monson off to the right of the goal.
But again, a lot of play down around the goal box now for the Knights, and you start to see them getting that chemistry back, starting to make passes a little bit more efficiently. And this is the way that Coach Garrock had envisioned the season during the preseason. A lot of play going around on their offensive end.
This game really is going to hinge and maybe turn, Mike, on whoever scores next. Provided, of course, we get that third goal. We never did get that third goal in the first game. Mary Washington in the men's game led 2-0 at halftime, and that was the final score.
Well, you can start to see the Knights playing with more purpose out there right now. There's been some games that we saw them out there just going through the motions. Now there's a lot of purpose with the way they play. You see the coaching staff on the other side up and cheering on their players.
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of fire in the second half.
Even the players out on the sideline very much into the game, as opposed to earlier games where everybody was just kind of there.
And here's a break for Mary Washington. Uriah comes out, and there's that third goal for the Eagles. And again, just like the first half, Mike, it just seemed like the Eagles were able to get beyond or behind the Knights defense.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how does that happen? How do they get that far behind with no defender around?
And that was a huge goal. No way to overstate the importance of that goal to make it a three-goal game for the Eagles now.
Now we have to see if this is going to affect the way the Knights had been attacking. Will it deflate them, or will they stay with their that attacking nature that we saw earlier?
Well, now you almost have to throw caution to the wind and really attack with everything if you want to come back from a 3-goal deficit with just about a half hour to go, 31 minutes.
And if you really throw caution to the wind, that puts you in so vulnerable to the counterattack.
Of course, at this stage, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0.
Yeah,
you know.
it's no difference right now. The Knights need to score.
And you have to credit Mary Washington for making that pass to get behind the Knights defense.
Oh, it was great execution on the pass and a great start on the run. I mean, we haven't seen Mary Washington offsides once tonight, and so that's
How close was that to being offsides?
I think that was more onside than we saw some of the earlier that we wondered how that could be onside.
Right.
Great,
nice pass by Monson to Gamby. Strokes it from the right side, but well off to the left. Substitution coming into the game now. Played about 15 minutes. Mary Washington will bring a couple of people in. Lizzie Brooks and Anna Brock will be checking in for the Eagles. Knights trying to avoid their 10th loss of the season. They came in 3-9 on the season, 0-3 the conference. Mary Washington's trying to improve to 8-6, and also trying to go to 3-2 in the conference.
Quick restart by Nakamoto.
Down to Cottle, and now Gamby, left corner.
And looks like they called somebody offsides.
Well, the Knights might be thinking about their missed opportunities, Mike. Gamby had a couple of good looks at it when it was 2-0. If they score, it's 2-1. Instead, they don't score. Mary Washington gets that third goal, and it's a 3-goal deficit staring the Knights in the face now with just under 29 minutes to go.
Yeah, we can't.
Knights can't clear either. Shot towards Uri, bobbles it. It's loose, and
it's like we got a couple players down on the field.
Uri had it momentarily. It popped loose. She's up. That's good. And one of the Knights up slowly.
Yeah, I think that's Lauren Hatchett. Looks like she got her leg bent back underneath her. And it looks like the referee's telling her she has to leave.
And she doesn't want to leave, it looks like.
Well, she has to go because they called the trainer out. So she has to go off for just a few seconds.
Which might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, she got her leg just pinned back underneath her. So, better to be safe than sorry.
Cedar Donaldson will check in. And Powell will check in. Donaldson is actually coming out, looks like. Nakamoto gives it from the goalie and moves it upfield. Gamby sprinting after it. But the defender made a good move to get that ball away.
Yeah, she was able to stop on a dime there and get rid of the ball.
Nakamoto's pass taken away by Mary Washington. And Cammie Miller will throw it in. Now here comes Donaldson. Off of Caudle, so it'll be a throw-in for the Eagles. Powell gets back there to knock it out.
Again, Powell, one of the faster players on the team, able to really shut down sides when she's out there. You wonder if she was out there during those goals that are scored, if she has been able to maybe chase the ball down, not stop the goal herself, but maybe give it a little bit harder angle to try to shoot the ball in.
And that third goal, Mike, that Mary Washington got was, again, as we talked about at the time, was just huge right now, as the Knights have just a little over 26 minutes to work with, but they are down by 3. Nice pass right side. Centering pass and off to the left on the shot. Good centering pass there.
Very nice.
The Eagles keep it in. Another centering pass. Back outside for a long floating shot off to the left. And they do a good job with that long floating shot from about 35, 40 yards away.
Well, they're not receiving any pressure from the defense, so they're able to really take their time and get a good shot off. And knowing that they want to go for one of those top corners is just a hard thing for the goalie to try to recover to.
Slade knocks it out. Uri diving for the ball and scoops it up.
And again, another free Eagle going straight toward the goal. You have to wonder, what's going on out there. Is there just a miscommunication on the defense? Because we've seen that defensive line, especially early in the season, just be dominant.
Right. Don't know if they're so overly concerned with trying to get the offense going that they forgot about the defense, Mike. Right side, nice move. Good centering pass. Shot is in for a 4th goal for Mary Washington. And another good centering pass there, Mike, and point blank shot at that point. So the Eagles have their 2nd goal of the second half. And now a dominating 4-goal lead with just under 25 minutes to go. Substitution for the Knights. Munson's going to check out. Hatchett, Barlow are in.
Gamby's
Gamby
out.
also out too. Yep.
Well, and I don't know if we see Gamby and Monson again later on. It might be just get them out, and hopefully that there's no injuries come to them, because they do have games coming up, the next 3, that they have a really great chance of winning those games. And if those young ladies go down, it's not that the game's over or you don't have a great chance to win. It's just you just got them back close to being at full strength. So why risk them, especially when you're down by 4 with only 24 minutes left?
Knights have had some good looks on offense tonight, Mike, and some good flurries, but perhaps because the focus on offense, at times the defense has been lax.
Yeah, you just have to wonder what's going on there in the back, if they just get so focused on the player in front of them that they're not seeing the one that's standing right behind them. And Mary Washington has timed most of their runs really well and haven't been offsides.
And they've had some good shots. That centering pass, that last goal, some good shots from outside where they've kind of sailed it over the head of Uri. going to be interesting to see how some of these teams that we've seen during the Southern Virginia home games, Mike, how they do, both men and women, in the Capital Tournament.
Yeah, once you get into the tournament, you can really try to throw out the records. It's a new season starting all over again, and anybody has an opportunity.
And there is
to win.
apparently one dominant team. We saw that tonight with St. Mary's at home in women's action losing.
Well, we'll know a lot for men and women by the 26th when the men have their last home game. We can see just about who the six are going to be, what seeds they may be, and we can give a good, accurate account of what's going to happen on the 31st when the tournament starts.
Blocked there by Cami Miller. Knights work it upfield, or try to, but give it right back to Mary Washington. You wonder now if the Eagles, when possible, will try to maybe take a little time off the clock. Throw in by Nakamoto.
Well, and with their possessions that they've had, that's almost as good as taking time off the clock, because they just make great passes back and forth. If they see an opening, they're going to go ahead and go for the goal.
Knights ball.
And from a confidence standpoint, it would just be huge for the Knights to score a goal right now.
Perhaps even a second one before it's all said and done.
Looks like we'll have a free kick here. If it's from where the referee is, about 42 yards away from the goal.
Nakamoto launches it towards the middle, but not very far. And the Mary Washington Eagles are right there to grab it. Now down 4-0 here, Mike. The Knights are now forced to chase.
And we'll probably see a lot more side-to-side passing by the Eagles. Again, if they see that the Knights are not paying attention, they'll go over the top for a chance at goal.
Pulliam kicking outside right to the goalkeeper, who does a great job batting it away and then grabbing it. She knew she couldn't reach up and grab it maybe with both hands, and just did the right thing there, Mike, and batted it up, and then was fortunate enough to get it on the way down.
Well, that even earned the Knights a corner kick. So great job by the goalkeeper, but again, a nice attack from the Knights, and let's see what they do with this corner.
Nakamoto towards the middle, headed away by the Eagles. Sorensen heads it back out to a teammate, Miller. She charges up the middle, loses it from behind, and Mary Washington's got it back.
Again, a lot of back and forth here very fast. Let's see who's going to finally end up with possession. Looks like it'll be the Eagles.
Over the top, but Powell's back there. Kicks it to Uri, who boots it the other way. Cottle with it now. Nice pass to Barlow. Tries to give it back to Cottle.
Nice lead pass.
Probably not the kind of year I would imagine that Sorensen was expecting when she started this year.
No, and I think all these injuries have really thrown everybody off their game, because having to play with so many new people trying to learn. tendencies is really kind of just got everybody frazzled a little bit. As we notice, Gamby only with 2 goals, Monson with 1 goal is
After 17 last
after
year.
17 last year. With Monson, I mean not Monson, but with Sorensen, just a fabulous playmaker last year. Seemed like she was in on every goal.
A lot of assists.
A lot of assists, and actually a lot of hockey assists too. The pass that leads to the pass for the
Right.
goal.
Yeah.
And this year, just because of all the injuries and no one being really settled in certain spots, it's really taken her away from her game.
And you wonder how some of these players, Monson really stands out because, again, 17 goals last year, only 1 goal this year, how some of these players have been able to handle it.
Well, they're really there's a lot of disappointment, but they really understand the what the game's really about and how they fit that in with life. You're not going to have all the luck in the world all the time in the game of life, and you got to be able to handle disappointment. And this is just preparing them for things that come later in life.
Substitutions here for the Knights. Winterton's going to check it back in for the Knights. And also Lexi Grantham will make an appearance, the freshman from Lehigh, Utah.
And you can see now that Coach Garrock's trying people out in some different positions. We see that Hatchett's back in, but not back in her usual defender spot, but playing more up in the midfield. We got Grantham in, getting some great time in the game. And
Hatchett looks like one of those who could be a valuable defender, but also could serve well maybe in the offensive end. And there she is right there with the ball.
And again, you start to you don't give up on this season. You always play to win the game, but you also try to look at what can we have for next year, and who's going to be in what position, and what can they do best to help us out. So you're always looking to what's coming next. Unfortunately, as a coach, you really can't sit back and enjoy anything because you're always thinking about the next game.
I'm sure Coach Garrock's maybe also
year.
thinking about the next recruiting trip.
Yeah, that's and he'll be gone. I know during December to some soccer tournaments that'll be held. There's a lot of soccer teams or high schools that have their soccer in the fall. Kind of like football, and then he'll be making some trips during the spring too, because the other states have their soccer in the fall, in the spring. So a lot of recruiting trips coming up for him.
Looks like Alicia Blackham is going to check in here soon. Well, the Eagles led 2-0 at halftime. Just like the men for Mary Washington did, they went on to a 2-0 victory. Here, the Eagles women's team has scored 2 goals in the second half, and they currently have a 4-goal lead.
We saw that it's very easily could have been a 2-1 game. Jamila Gamby had a great breakaway, just an awesome save by the Eagles goalie. We saw some other shots or potential shots that the Knights manufactured, and then all of a sudden the wheels fell off, and the Eagles were able to score 2 more goals.
And I'm sure folks will say, hey, if Jamila gets that shot to go in and makes 2-1, who knows? Maybe a completely different ball game.
Could be a completely different ball game, could cause the Eagles to tighten up a little bit, and you're looking for those 1 or 2 mistakes, and if you can capitalize on it. And unfortunately, the Knights hadn't been able to capitalize on those mistakes tonight.
Knights trying to work it upfield. Pass for Sorensen. Goalkeeper comes way out to make a play. The men's goalkeeper for Mary Washington wasn't really challenged a whole lot. This goalkeeper for the women's team actually has made some good plays tonight, Mike.
Made some very good plays and has been challenged. There's been 9 shots by the Knights. 2 of them have been on goal. But also she's been able to really direct her defense, because we've seen some other times that the Knights have been knocking on the door, just hadn't been able to do anything.
Blackham checks in, and Mary Washington's going to have 4 or 5 subs come in now.
You know, and looking at Alicia, it's going to be kind of strange seeing a soccer team without a Blackham on the team, as her sister played here for 4 years, and now Alicia's played for 4 years, and it just seems to be a.
Then we got the Blackham Classic.
Had the Blackham Classic this year. Just one of the great families that have sent some just marvelous young ladies through to our soccer team. As we've seen in other sports, there's been some families that have sent a lot of their children here, and we
Sort
really
of like
appreciate
the Jacobsons.
The Jacobsons. On the women's side, we had the Ramitos that started back in '98, and then there's been a Ramito here up until this year.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's others that we have forgotten about and not intentionally just can't come to mind.
Sometimes it's just a couple, like, what was it, the quarterback from a couple of years ago, Jones?
Yes.
And his brother, I
Corey
think, played
and
basketball.
Andy.
Yep.
Andy was the quarterback. Corey's still here.
Quarterback on that 8-2 team.
Yep. So there's a lot of families that have had multiple siblings here at the same time, and we really appreciate that. But just on the soccer side, seeing Alicia getting ready to graduate is something that's going to take a little getting used to, not seeing a Blackham here. We had Melanie Guyman here for the women. We have Will Guyman for the men. You know, Will's a junior next year. Be graduating, and it'll be kind of different to see no Guymans out there on the field. So it's kind of a family thing here at Southern Virginia. Great opportunities for the players, but also just wonderful to see these young ladies and young men grow.
Well, am I closing in on the 10-minute mark here? Time running out for the Knights to get that first goal today. Game pretty much into the books for a Mary Washington victory with a 4-goal lead, but I know Coach Crowrock would like to get at least a goal, maybe two goals perhaps on the board before this one's all said and done. But Mary Washington, with all the substitutions in the game, still going after a 5th goal as Uriah makes that save.
You know, these young ladies that are coming in from Mary Washington may not get a lot of the playing time, so they want to make the most of their time out there on the field. Plus, they're trying to get experience too. They may be the ones that step up next year to take some places of some of the graduating Eagles.
And they've got an 8-3 advantage in shots on goal now. 5-2 on corner kicks. Mary Washington, even split. 2 goals first half, 2 goals second half.
Blackham with the free kick. See who she tries to play it to, being about 55 yards away from the goal.
Tried to get it to Grantham. Knocked out by Mary Washington here.
Long kick downfield. And
So
see Powell just kind of escorted out of bounds.
Don't forget volleyball coming up on Saturday, women's volleyball action. Our next soccer webcast will be 1 week from today, as we'll have a doubleheader against Marymount. Women at 5 o'clock, men at 7:30, and then the men will finish off their home schedule October the 26th against Salisbury.
Free kick here about 30 yards away from the goal. See how Marymount plays it, and was really need to see how Southern Virginia plays it to try to clear.
Knights have basically cleared their bench as far as subs, Mike.
Well, again, trying to get a lot of people some experience, knowing that this is going to only help them next year.
Off to the right, Mary Washington takes a shot on the left side with a header, and it goes past, saved though by the Eagles.
Yeah, they just tried to play it to that far side goal post, looking for a header or someone coming in behind the header to clean it up.
So Savannah Patillo will check in, and Chloe Lewis also checking in for the Knights. A couple of more subs.
You know, and unfortunately for the Knights, they're learning that when you have a young team that's trying to learn how to play at a very high level, sometimes you take your lumps. I know that Coach Starrock was looking forward to having a little bit more of a even team as far as upperclassmen and underclassmen, but the injuries just necessitated him to put a lot of freshmen out there on the field.
And it may be that these injuries for both the men and the women were just impossible to overcome this season.
Well, that's something that you try to plan for, making sure you have a deep enough team, but you just never know how things are going to shake out or round into shape. So I know both coaches, Coach Starrock and Coach Patino, really couldn't foresee this. They planned for a few injuries, because you always have to plan for a few injuries, but not to the extent that they've had to endure this year.
Corner kick left side, too far. You're talking about players that miss time, Mike, and again trying to adjust all the combinations and the units out there, and then the fact that even when they get back, they're not going to be 100%. I'm not even sure Taniana Monson's 100% right now.
Well, I know she's not. I know Jamila's not. They're still operating.
Obviously, Ann Powell not.
Ann Powell's not. Well, all the young ladies that have just come back off the injuries, they're really operating about 75 to 80%. You know, and it's just
same for the men with Mulaball.
Same for the men with them. And it's just a testament to these athletes wanting to get back there, out there on the field, doing everything they can in the training room to get to the point where the trainers say, okay, you're cleared to go play. I know they lobby the coaches, hey, I can play more, but they're trying to limit their minutes in order to just safely help them along the way.
And, you know, maybe for the men and the women, and since it's going to be very tough for either one to make the Capital Conference tournament, maybe their tournament, their postseason, is just trying to win as many of these games down the stretch in the final 3 or 4 games. Again, a lot of these games will be played on the road.
Well, we know that the next 3 games are very winnable, especially the home game here that they have against Marymount. So what they will be looking to do is win those games, and then the game against Frostburg, a really tough game at Frostburg. They can play spoiler. They can knock Frostburg into a lower seed, and that would be their tournament, is can we spoil Frostburg's great season.
Well, let's talk about the most immediate thing. Now, again, as we mentioned before we wrap things up today, our next webcast will be coming up next Wednesday, October the 21st. It'll be a doubleheader, women at 5 o'clock, men at 7:30, and the men will have still one more home game coming up October the 26th. That'll be the final home game, though, for the women. Senior day, and 3 seniors will be honored. But most immediate will be coming up, Mike, a road trip coming up on Saturday for men's and women's soccer to Penn State Harrisburg. What do you expect for both the men and the women on Saturday?
Well, Harrisburg's 2-3 right now, but they've beat York and they beat Marymount, which is lower than they are. A very winnable game for the women. Again,
senior day though for Harrisburg.
Senior day for the Harrisburg, but that can work against you also, because there's a lot of emotions that go on there. Oh, as we see Jackie Barlow hit the ground hard, a lot of emotions go on, and you can get thrown out of your rhythm very fast. But if the Knights want to win that game, again, they're going to have to generate some offense from some place. Hopefully they're able to find 2 or 3 goals and put it together. For the men, we're going to be looking at Penn State Harrisburg at
The bottom.
yeah they're
Bottom of the
0 and 5,
conference, yeah.
so someone's going to come out of that game with a win, and be a step up from the basement of the Capital Athletic Conference.
They've struggled overall record too.
Yeah, so it's two great opportunities for the Knights to win a game that would just make the ride home from Harrisburg so much better.
Give them a little confidence for that Marymount doubleheader next Wednesday too.
And then the York game, a little bit tougher for the men that'll be coming up. They're 3-1-1. The women are 2-3 in the conference, but again, very winnable. Marymount on the men's side, 1-3-1. 0-5 on the women's side. So, the next three games very winnable for the Knights, but only if they can manufacture a goal.
And that would be for both the men and the women.
Men and the women. And again, could come out with a 3-game winning streak going into the game against Frostburg.
I think we mentioned for the men 8 shutouts.
8 shutouts.
And if the women end up not getting any goals in this game, I believe this would be their 6th shutout, 6 times shutout on the season.
And again, just not what the coaches had envisioned. On the women's side with Monson and Gamby and Cottle coming back to be great goal scorers. And on the men's side, Munoz and Josh Smith and Mulabah coming in, moving from more of a midfield to an attacker. Just not what either coach had really anticipated, being shut out this many times.
But the problem tonight, maybe for both, certainly for the women, just not enough opportunities. The Knights really had some good opportunities, but again, Mike, if you add to your opportunities, sooner or later you're going to break through. But if you only have 2 or 3 opportunities and you're unsuccessful, that's that.
Well, what we're hoping is both groups are getting back towards having the lineups that they want to be out there. Now it's going to take maybe just this game for them to learn how to play together more. They have practice tomorrow and Friday, and then they'll go up to Penn State Harrisburg, and maybe that'll be enough time that we'll gel those groups together.
Pretty lengthy road trip too.
It's about 5 hours.
Yep.
So, but a win makes that trip back home just so much better and easier.
Knights are down to the final 45 seconds, and I think Shirley Morales got dumped to the turf.
And that's not good to see, as she's just barely being cleared from a concussion. It's not good to see her laying on the ground that long.
She's able to get up good. That's good to see very quickly. Final 25 seconds here. Oh, outstanding collision featuring Ann Powell. Good to see Ann get up. That was a header.
Oh, and the first yellow card for the night.
Just with 9 seconds to go. I'm surprised Ann was able to bounce up.
Oh, that was
like that from that kind of collision.
That was a bruising collision. That's a football collision going on there. Both players, though, jumped straight back up, so maybe it just looked worse than it really was.
Blackham with the kick. Final few seconds here, counting down from this one, as the Knights are going to again drop to 3-10 on the season, Mike. And so now the men and women's team get ready for the road trip to Penn State Harrisburg on Saturday and their next home game against Marymount next Wednesday.
Well, they've gotten through the really toughest part of the schedule, and now they get on to some teams that are having some offensive struggles like they are. Very winnable games. Hopefully we can see the Knights pull those wins out, come in into the Marymount game with a 2-game winning streak, and both of them win that on senior day and have a 3-game winning streak going into the Frostburg match.
And Mike, a reminder, you got volleyball Saturday.
Volleyball Saturday, 1 o'clock in the arena against Salisbury. Join us at 1 o'clock as the Knights try to get back on into their winning ways.
So make sure you join Mike and Art and all the crew once again for volleyball coming up on Saturday. That's going to wrap things up here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. I'm Jim Bresnahan for Mike Harmon and all the crew, wishing you a great evening.